This program has been made possible by the friends and partners of Joyce Meyer Ministries.
And I'll tell you, if you never give up on God, He will never give up on you. You may have some things that you're working through and it may be taking longer than you hoped it would, but just don't give up. Well, thank you for joining us today on Enjoying Everyday Life. And I pray that my teaching today helps you enjoy your life better. You know, we all have attitudes. And believe it or not, your attitude is something that belongs to you. And nobody, I want you to get this, nobody can make you have a bad one if you don't want to. Nobody can make you have a bad one if you don't want to. Now, attitudes, good or bad, start in our thinking. So let's start with a scripture. Ephesians 4:22 through 24 in the Amplified Translation says, "Strip yourselves of your former nature, put off and discard your old unrenewed self." Now remember, he's talking to Christians, so he's telling them, don't walk in that old nature, because you see, when you're born again, when you receive Christ, you receive a new nature. You receive the nature of God, which means you can choose to behave the way that He does. So he says, strip yourselves of your former nature, put off and discard your old unrenewed self, which characterized your previous manner of life and becomes corrupt through lusts and desires that spring from delusion, and be constantly renewed in the spirit of your mind. And then here's the amplification of that: having a fresh mental and spiritual attitude. So he's saying every day you have to make a decision, set your mind that today I'm going to have a good attitude no matter what. And you know, I don't just tell you to do these things, I do them. I spend time each morning with the Lord when I get up, because I know if I don't, I am not going to act good that day. And to be honest, most of us are like that. We need, just like you need food to keep your body running right, you need spiritual food, which is the Word of God, and time with Him to behave spiritually correctly. And, you know, I don't want to do anything that offends the Holy Spirit. I want to love people like Jesus told us to, and I can't do it without a lot of help from God. And so I pray every morning that God will help me, that He will strengthen me. I want to enjoy the day. I want to appreciate the things that God has given me. So I specifically set my mind, today is the day the Lord has made. He's given me another day to live, and I want to enjoy this day and have a good attitude. Help me treat people good that I'm with and make them feel good, and just whatever comes to my mind. So the main thing I want to get across is that you have to set your attitude and determine that you're going to have a good one in order for that to happen. Now, this may be helpful. An airplane has something called an attitude indicator. It's an instrument that's actually called an attitude indicator. Now, you would think it would say an altitude indicator, but it says an attitude indicator. And I'm going to read you what it says. Airplanes have an instrument called the attitude indicator. It shows the position of the plane to the horizon. The horizon represents normal or average. When the airplane is climbing, it's said to have a nose-high attitude. And when it's diving, it is said to have a nose-down attitude. So if our attitude is up and it's good, then our life is going to be up and good. The day is going to be up and good. People are going to enjoy being around us, and we could be said to have had a nose-high attitude. But if our attitude is down, if we're discouraging and thinking about everything we don't have and everything we don't like and how unfair life is, then we would be said to have a nose-down attitude, a life below normal. That horizon would be normal, and above that is better than normal, and below that is less than normal. And the altitude or the attitude of the plane can be changed by the pilot, which is you, making a small adjustment, and your day today can be changed by you making a small adjustment. Your week can change by you making just a small adjustment and deciding, just decide right now to think about everything you do have instead of what you don't have. Think about your blessings, and nobody is without blessings. There is nobody watching right now that doesn't have something to be thankful for. Yes, we all have problems. We all have challenges in life. And maybe right now you're going through a very challenging time. Pray about those times. Do what you can do. But focus on the things in your life that are good and find things to be thankful for. And you can even be thankful for little things like clean running water in your house, a home to live in, clothes to put on, somebody to say good morning to. Just anything that is a blessing, the more you think about that, the more it's going to help and affect your attitude. You know, Cain was sad and depressed. Cain and Abel, they were the first two children of Adam and Eve. And Cain became jealous of Abel because Abel gave an offering that God was pleased with, but he was not pleased with Cain's offering. And in Genesis 4, 5, and 6, it says, "But for Cain and his offering, God had no respect or regard. So Cain was exceedingly angry and indignant, and he looked sad and depressed." You know, we can see attitudes. An attitude is like your thought life turned inside out. It affects your body language. It shows on your face. And I don't know about you, but most of us, have you ever said to somebody, I can always tell what you think by the look on your face? Well, I know people like that. It's like if they don't like something that I said or something that I did, they immediately, or even just a slight, you know, like, and you know that they don't like it. If you have a teenager, you know that they have the ability to give you looks that you're like, I hate that look. I remember one of my sons, if I would go in his room to correct him about something, he would roll his eyes, and I would be just like, don't do that, because I could tell that he wasn't listening to me, and he had already made his mind up that I didn't know what I was talking about. So attitudes are not always something you can hide. You can hide them sometimes, but usually they're going to show up somewhere. Having a good attitude is going to be helpful to you. Having a bad one is not going to be helpful to you. And the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? And why do you look sad and depressed and dejected?" And then if you go ahead and read more, it says, "Could you not have chosen to do right?" Well, see, he was angry because he didn't choose to do the right thing. Then he got jealous and angry of his brother, at his brother, so angry and jealous that he ended up killing him because he made a decision to do what was right. And when you think about jealousy, we're never jealous of somebody if we have what they have or if we can do what they can do. Many times people are blessed because they've made right decisions, and another person may not be blessed because they've made bad decisions, but everybody has a choice to make right decisions that will bring blessings into their life. So there's no point in having a bad attitude towards somebody who made a right decision when you can also make a right decision yourself. And today I'm asking you to make a right decision about attitude. Now, I would like to say that I'm sure that all of you have a wonderful nose high up attitude, and just you're so thankful and you're so blessed and you're not letting your problems get to you or make you grouchy. But you know what? I know that's not true. Now, some of you are, but some of you are not. And today is a day to make a decision. Today is a day to hear what God is saying to you, because I'll tell you what, attitude has a lot to do with the quality of your life. You know, I've said here at the ministry, and I mean this, I would rather have an employee that was a little less talented but had a great attitude than to have somebody that I mean, they can do almost anything, but they've got a bad attitude. I would rather have the person with the good attitude that maybe wasn't quite as knowledgeable as somebody else. Everybody loves to be around somebody that has a good attitude. And I don't think anybody likes to be around somebody that has a bad attitude. So one of the things that you have to do if you want to get anything out of this teaching is kind of locate yourself. And maybe right now is not the best time to do it. You might need to think about it when the show's over. But what kind of an attitude do you normally have? You know, we all have a bad attitude sometimes, but would you say that 90% of the time or 95% of the time that you have a good attitude? I hope so, and I hope that for myself also. You know, one of the times that we're tempted to have a bad attitude is we don't feel good. And you know what? If I don't feel good, it's not my husband's fault. There's no reason for me to take it out on him. That's a good time for me to lean into God and say, I don't feel good today, and I'm going to be tempted to have a bad attitude about it. So I either need to stay away from people, or I need to really have a lot of help from you so I can have a good attitude anyway. Maintaining, now listen to this because this is important. Maintaining the right attitude is easier than regaining the right attitude. Let me say it again. Maintaining the right attitude is easier than regaining the right attitude. And what I mean by that is if you learn how to make a good attitude a habit, it's easier to be that way all the time than it is to be letting yourself get in a bad mood, have a bad attitude, maybe hurt a bunch of people's feelings, and then trying to regain, come back from that down place to a place that is nose high. Try to just keep a good attitude all the time in every situation. Now, misery is an option. And if you have a bad attitude, you're going to be just as miserable as you make other people around you. But misery is an option. You know, Paul did not pray for people. The Apostle Paul didn't pray for people for their problems to go away. You know what he prayed? He prayed that they would endure whatever came with good temper. Wow. You know, I have yet, in over 40 years of ministry, had anybody come to me and ask me to pray for them that they could have a good attitude while they go through their problem. Everybody wants you to pray that their problem will go away. But they don't all go away. And one of the ways that we grow and mature in God and become more like Him is if we can be the same, whether we have problems or whether we don't. And so Paul wanted to pray for the people that they could endure whatever came with good temper. Misery is an option. John Maxwell said, circumstances don't make you what you are, they reveal what you are. Oh my goodness. Circumstances don't make you what you are, they reveal what you are. I always say, you never know, no matter how good an orange looks on the outside, you never know how juicy it is until you cut into it or you squeeze it. Well, you know, when it comes to the fruit of the Spirit, we never know exactly how we're going to act until our fruit is squeezed, so to speak, until there's a little pressure put on. We can think that we're patient, but we don't really know that we're patient until we see how we behave while we have to wait. We can say that we love people, but we don't really know how much we love people until all of a sudden there's a choice to be made and I have to choose, am I going to do what's better for me or am I going to do what's better for the other person? You know, there are some keys that I think are good to remember. First of all, realize that the rough weather that you're in won't last forever. Robert Schuller said, the good news is that the bad news can be turned into good news when you change your attitude. How about if I say that again? The good news is that the bad news can be turned into good news when you change your attitude. You know what I say? this too shall pass. Always realize when you're having rough weather that it won't last forever. You had other problems in the past that you made it through, and you thought then you wouldn't make it through, and maybe you wasted 10 days having a bad attitude, and you could have had 10 pleasant days while God dealt with the problem. You know what? It's perfectly okay for you to be happy and enjoy your life while God deals with your problems. You know, I don't want anybody to think that you have to be miserable because you have a problem. You don't have to worry about your kids just because you have teenagers and don't maybe always understand them. You can pray about the situation and then turn it over to God. You know, praying about things and then worrying doesn't really do any good. We need to pray about them, cast the care on God. So one of the things that I say when I have a problem that helps me, and I usually say it out loud and sometimes several times a day, this is not going to last forever. And I also like to say, this is going to end well. I don't know how it's going to end, but I know it's going to end well. I wish I could see all of you right now and ask for a show of hands of how many of you have to make a decision to have a good attitude. You know, a bad attitude just sneaks up on you if you don't decide to have a good one. I always say you can catch the flu, but you can't catch good health. Well, it's the same way. You know, you can't just catch a good attitude. You can catch a bad one because the enemy will sneak up on you. And I guess as human beings, that's just kind of the way we drift without God to help us. And so we have to learn to listen to the Holy Spirit on the inside of us and let Him show us when we're starting to have a nose down attitude and get us back to having a nose high attitude. Here's another key that I think is helpful. Don't make major decisions during the storm if you can avoid it. When you're going through a difficult time in life, it's not the best time to make decisions, especially if they're really important decisions. You know, that's not the time to decide to buy a new car or the time to decide whether you want to get married or not or buy a new house or not, because emotions are volatile during times of trouble. And the best thing to do is let emotions subside and then decide what you want to do. And maybe you're in a situation right now and you keep hearing the enemy scream in your head, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And you need to have this determined attitude. I'm not really going to do anything until God shows me what He wants me to do. Don't let the enemy push you into making an emotional decision that you may be sorry that you made later on. Another key is keep in touch with the control tower. You know, when an airplane is in a storm, it always stays in control. It stays in touch with the control tower. And we need to do that. Listen, whenever you're upset and you're having trouble, don't let the trouble pull you away from God. Let it push you closer to God. Spend more time with Him. Cry out to Him. Seek His advice. Don't just withdraw into a corner and feel sorry for yourself. Stay in touch with the control tower, and then you can always have a nose-high attitude. Key number 5, try to keep things in perspective. You know, our perspective is the way we decide to look at things. And it's very important, I think, to be sure that we're looking at things in a proper way. I have a story that I want to read you. It's a little bit long, but it's worth it. And it makes the point that I think you'll really understand. A girl had gone away from home to go to college, and she wrote her mom and dad a letter, and she said, since I left for college, I've been remiss in writing, and I'm sorry for my thoughtlessness in not having written you before now. But I'll bring you up to date now. But before you read on, please sit down. Well, I'm sure that made a little heartbeat. Are you sitting down? Don't read unless you're sitting down. Well, I'm getting along pretty well now. The skull fracture and concussion that I got when I jumped out of my dormitory window when it caught on fire shortly after my arrival here is pretty well healed. I only get those sick headaches that I've been having now once in a while instead of every day. Fortunately, the fire in my dorm and the jump was witnessed by an attendant at the gas station. He ran over, took me to the hospital, and continued to visit me there. When I got out of the hospital, I had nowhere to live because of the burnt-out conditions of my room, so he was kind enough to invite me to share his basement bedroom flat with him. It's sort of small, but cute. He's a very fine boy, and we've fallen deeply in love and are planning to get married. We haven't set the exact date yet, but it will be before my pregnancy begins to show. Yes, Mom and Dad, I'm pregnant. I know how much you're looking forward to being grandparents, and I know you will welcome the baby and give it the same tender care and devotion that you gave me when I was a child. The reason for the delay in our marriage is that my boyfriend has a minor infection that I carelessly caught from him. I know, however, that you will welcome him into our family with open arms. He is kind, and although not well educated, he is very ambitious. Although he is of a different race and religion than ours, I know that your often expressed tolerance will not permit you to be bothered by that at all. In conclusion, now that I've brought you up to date, I want to tell you, Mom and Dad, that there was no dormitory fire. I did not have a concussion or a skull fracture. I was not in the hospital. I am not pregnant. I am not infected, and there is no boyfriend in my life. However, I am failing history and science, and I wanted you to see this in proper perspective. Now, I'm sure many of you are laughing because that is a pretty funny story. Just imagine how relieved those parents were at the end of that letter. But just think about what their reaction might have been had the daughter just called and said, Mom and Dad, I'm failing science and history. I'm sure they would have gotten upset. They might have gotten angry with her. They might have been really frustrated. They could have had a big family argument. But now, when she told them this other wild story first, they turned out being relieved. And you know, really, when you have a problem in your life, when you have a storm in your life, you can always think like this. Well, I wish this wouldn't have happened, but it could have been a lot worse. I had a situation not too long ago where I was going somewhere and I wanted to get there at a certain time, but it looked like I was going to be just a little bit late. And I was frustrated about it. And lo and behold, as we went down the highway, we noticed a situation where like 45 seconds before we arrived at that spot on the highway, there had been a major, major accident that looked like there was probably some deaths involved. And God used that to cause me to realize that had I left when I wanted to leave, I might have been the one in that accident. But our times are in God's hands. And sometimes He will block you from being able to do exactly what you want to do, because even though you don't know it, He's saving you from some kind of future pain. And so let's always have a good attitude and trust God that He's always doing the best thing for us. Being positive doesn't mean that we deny the existence of problems or difficulties. It means that we believe that God is greater than our problem. I was talking to a lady one time in a coffee shop out of town, and she recognized me from being on TV. And right away, she wanted to start telling me all of her problems. And she said, you know, Joyce, life has just been really hard for me. She told me several things that had happened to her, and then she said, to be honest with you, Joyce, life has just thrown me under the bus. And right away, I said, you know what, honey? It threw me under the bus too, but I decided to get out from under that bus, pick myself up, and learn how to drive that bus. And you know what? That's an option you have to do today too. Maybe you've had a lot of bad things happen to you in your life. Maybe you would be a person that says, well, I'm just not lucky. Well, I don't think that when we're dealing with God, it's good luck or bad luck. It's faith or no faith. It's trusting God. It's believing the promises in the Word. And I'll tell you, If you never give up on God, He will never give up on you. You may have some things that you're working through, and it may be taking longer than you hoped it would, but just don't give up. Actually, I have a book to offer you today called Never Give Up. And I think a lot of you need to get this book. We're offering it to you today for your gift to the ministry of any amount because we really want you to have it, and I know you'll do your best. Just send in your best offering and request Never Give Up. Thank you for being with us today, and God bless you.
This book is packed with examples of people who pursued their goals relentlessly and prevailed. From the builder of the Brooklyn Bridge to the chemists who invented Post-it notes. It includes the tools to meet life's challenges and reminds us that with God, nothing is impossible. For your donation of any amount, you can be inspired to never give up. Contact us. Visit online at joycemeyer.org or call 1-800-727-9673.
Watch episodes of Enjoying Everyday Life. Read daily devotionals. Follow a Bible study plan with the new Joyce Meyer Ministries app. Search Joyce Meyer in your app store and download the new Joyce Meyer Ministries app today.
I really believe this is what I'm supposed to do, but I'm too afraid to take the risk.
There are so many big decisions to make. How do I know for sure?
I know I should get out of this toxic relationship, but I'm afraid of what people will think.
I'll do it afraid.
I'll do it afraid.
I'll do it. Afraid.
With God's help, you can embrace courage in the face of fear. Learn how with Joyce Meyer's newest book, Do It Afraid. Pre-order your copy today.
Hi, ladies. You know, I was so sad that I wouldn't see you at our annual women's conference this year. And I know we all need something fun and encouraging right now. So I decided to throw a special one-night only live and interactive event. We're calling it the Love Life Girls Night In. I have a special message that I want to share with you about how you can have courage in the face of fear and learn how to do it afraid. Something we all need to hear. You know, life has been very interesting in 2020. And it's so easy to feel overwhelmed with all the what ifs. But I want to share a special message with you about how we don't have to be controlled by our fears any longer. We also are going to have a special worship time with Carrie Job and Cody Carnes and a live Talk It Out video podcast with my friends Ginger, Aaron, and Jay. So join us Friday, September the 11th at 7 p.m. Central Time. Registration is $10 and all proceeds go to support Project Girl Outreaches. Register today at joycemeyer.org/livestream. Hope to see you there.
We hope you enjoyed today's program. For more information, visit joycemeyer.org. This program has been made possible by the friends and partners of Joyce Meyer Ministries.